The hotel lamp flickered, casting jagged shadows across the chipped veneer of the nightstand as I grabbed the phone. Emily's voice came through, brittle as cracked glass. Daddy, Jake hit me again. He said if I tell you, he'll hurt you too. She was 8. My chest tightened, breath caught in my throat. No panic, just a heavy stillness, the kind that settles before a fire ignites. I asked, voice low, where her mom was. In the kitchen. She's not listening. I forced my tone to stay even, not because I was calm, but because Emily needed an anchor. Okay, sweetheart, I'm coming home. Stay in your room, lock the door. Don't come out until I say. She sniffled, her voice dropping to a whisper I couldn't make out. Then the line went dead, leaving a silence that roared louder than any scream. I dialed Sarah, my ex-wife. The phone rang 3 times before she answered, her voice already sharp with irritation. She's lying, Tom. Emily hates Jake. He'd never touch her. In the background, Jake's voice cut through, thick and slurred with liquor. Tell her daddy he's next. A crash followed, glass shattering, maybe a bottle, then silence. I didn't argue or raise my voice. I opened my laptop, the blue glow lighting my face in the dim room, and booked the next flight out of Chicago to Denver. One shirt at a time, I packed my duffel, folding each with precision, as if order could hold back the rage building inside. Sarah was a master at pretending she was the stable parent, pretending I was the one who couldn't be trusted, pretending Jake's temper was just stress. But I'd learned to listen to silence, trained by years in the military to hear what wasn't said. Tonight, Emily's voice carried something worse than fear, resignation, like she'd cried for help before and no one came. That realization hollowed me out, left my hands cold against the warm laptop keys. I thought back to last Christmas. Emily's small frame curled on the couch, a bruise blooming on her collarbone. She'd said the dog jumped on her, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. Then there was the missing report card, the way she blinked too fast when I asked about school. It all rushed back now, a film reel I hadn't known I was watching. I'd trusted Sarah to be a mother, to protect our daughter. Turns out she'd been Jake's alibi, shielding him while Emily paid the price. The guilt hit like a fist. How had I missed it? I'd been on the road, working, believing Sarah's assurances that everything was fine. Never again. I didn't head straight home. Instead, I drove through the night to a rundown motel off I-70, the kind with neon signs half lit and curtains that smelled of stale smoke. I needed to be invisible, to think without eyes on me. In the room, I logged into our old shared cloud storage. Sarah never changed the password, too careless or too arrogant. There, buried in the baby monitor footage I'd installed before the divorce, was the truth. The grainy video showed Jake, his face red, veins bulging, hand striking Emily's cheek. Her scream pierced the speakers, her tiny hands flying to her ears. Timestamps and dates burned into the frame. March 12th, 2025, 9:47 p.m. Sarah stood in the background, arms crossed, doing nothing. In one clip, she laughed, a sharp, careless sound that made my stomach turn. I stopped shaking, stopped feeling. I watched, cataloged, remembered, my training kicking in like muscle memory. Every frame was evidence, every second a weapon. I made 3 copies of the files, saved to a USB drive and 2 cloud servers. I sent one anonymously to Child Protective Services, another to Emily's school principal, and the third to my lawyer, a bulldog of a woman who'd handled my divorce. Then I called Sarah's neighbor, Linda, a retired nurse with a sharp eye and no patience for nonsense. Keep an eye on the house, I told her, my voice low. Record anything loud, shouting, breaking glass, anything. Someone's finally listening now. Linda didn't ask questions, just said, I've got you, Tom. I hung up, staring at the motel's peeling wallpaper, the weight of what came next settling in. 3 days later, I stood on Sarah's porch in a Denver suburb, the air crisp with early spring chill. She answered the door, makeup flawless, smile plastic. Wow, long trip, Tom. I didn't answer, just handed her a manila envelope. Inside were stills from the footage, Jake's hand raised, Emily's face crumpled in fear. Sarah's skin blanched, her fingers trembling as she pulled out the photos. This is out of context, she stammered. I raised a hand and she fell silent. Jake appeared behind her, eyes bloodshot, reeking of beer and unwashed clothes. What's this, some kind of threat? He growled, stepping closer. I didn't look at him, just said, your face will be on a courtroom screen next week. You've got 48 hours to write your version. He lunged, fist cocked. Sarah gasped, grabbing his arm. I didn't move, knowing Linda was across the street, her phone recording from her living room window. Jake stopped halfway, his eyes darting to the street, then backed off, muttering curses. I turned and left, letting the silence do the bleeding. The custody hearing was in a sterile courtroom, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I played the audio first. Emily's sobs, Jake's shouts, Sarah's indifference. The judge, a woman with gray hair and a no-nonsense stare, listened without blinking. My lawyer presented the evidence, timestamps, a psychologist's letter detailing Emily's trauma, the principal's statement about her declining grades, the CPS report confirming neglect. Sarah sat across the room, her lawyer whispering furiously in her ear. She tried to speak once, claiming Emily exaggerated, but the judge's eyes silenced her. Then came the final video. Jake screaming, Sarah laughing, Emily flinching as a glass shattered off screen. The room stayed quiet long after the screen went black, the weight of the footage suffocating. Anything to say, Mr. Bennett? The judge asked, her voice cutting through the stillness. I looked at Sarah, her eyes wet with tears that weren't for Emily. The footage speaks louder than she ever did, I said. Sarah broke then, sobbing, but it was for herself, for the life she'd built on lies crumbling around her. When I picked Emily up from the temporary foster home, I didn't hug her right away. The social worker led her out, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her sneakers scuffing the floor. I knelt, held her face gently, and looked into her eyes. They were tired, shadowed, but not broken. Are you staying? She whispered, her voice small but steady. I nodded, my throat tight. Yeah, kiddo, I'm not going anywhere. Not because I wanted to be a savior, but because I should have been there sooner. As we walked to the car, Sarah's voice called out from the porch, something about second chances, about working things out. I didn't look back. The gravel crunched under our feet, and Emily's hand slipped into mine, her fingers cold but firm. In the car, I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. She stared out the window, watching the world blur by. I thought of the motel room, the footage, the courtroom, every step that brought us here. When your daughter's cries come through a phone and no one else listens, you stop asking for permission. You keep receipts, you lock the door, and never leave it open again.